Hey you guys, it's Sam. Welcome back to my channel. So as I promised you guys when I did my Sephora Fall 2020 VIB Rouge haul, if you guys want to check out that video, I will link it in the description box below. And if I remember, I will also link it in a little card right here. As I said in that video, I got technically I got like 3 brand new eyeshadow palettes, and I told you guys that I really wanted to do a full video dedicated to the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude palette. This is her brand new palette. It is 15 pans. It is laid out, no, I'm a dirty liar. It is 18 pans, so 18 different shadows. It is laid out exactly like the Desert Dusk palette, the new Nude palette, the Rose Gold palette, Mercury Retrograde palette. So it has the same layout, and this is her newest release. Now, the first thing that I actually said in the last video about the packaging is I kind of like that this packaging is just a little bit more simple. It's just got like a, I don't know if it's not like a sticker. It is like actually, if you kind of get really close to it, it is like a built-in piece of plastic. So it doesn't have a sticker on it, but it's just like a flush, like purple burgundy sort of color. The word naughty is in a raised font, and if you look really carefully, you can actually see like a almost mirage of the word nude on the back. It's kind of a tone on tone look. I'm really into it. So this palette launched right around the time that the VIB Rouge sale started. I think it was like November 1st or something like that. I kind of held off purchasing from the sale until I could get my hands on this because I knew it was coming out. I normally don't, but I actually did go on to Sephora, 1, because I wanted to remember the pricing of this item, and 2, because I was kind of curious as to some of the reviews, because I've heard some not so good things about the palette. So first of all, this retails for $88 Canadian. That is a pretty pricey palette. Huda Beauty is not cheap by any standards. But more often than not, the shadow quality that they put out is pretty good. I've had a lot of success with the palettes. I think they're beautifully laid out. They have really nice color stories. And this one to me is no different. We'll get to the inside in a little bit. So the reviews. Of 200 reviews, this has a total of 4.5 stars. And I think it has an 86% recommendation to buy as of when I'm filming this video, so that might change. Who really knows? It's still relatively new. I mean, there's other products on Sephora's website that have thousands and thousands of reviews. This one only has 200, but like I said, it is a fairly new product. The biggest complaint about this is also the thing that I feel intrigued the most people, and that is this new formula that comes in the shade Slippery down in the corner. When you look at it in pictures on the website, it looks really cool, and it is a little disappointing when you get it because it's almost, you know, on the pictures it shows online, it kind of looks more like a textured foiled shadow, which is sort of what I thought I was getting. I didn't really look into it too much, but it's more like some kind of a gel with little shimmer beads sort of stuck into it. Having said that, I mean, much like the marbled shadows in this palette, every palette's going to be a little different, a little unique. They're not going to get the same pattern. They're not going to get the same almost representation of those beads. So every palette is going to be a little bit unique. Hopefully all of the colors pay off the same. I always wonder that when you get those shadows that are sort of two-toned, that are marbled this way. For this one, for example, in mine, it is a lot more heavily purple on top with just a ribbon of pink through it. Is that going to affect the way the color shows up compared to the swatch? Who really knows? I am going to swatch the whole palette, but we'll quickly talk about the color story. I really like it. It is more on the neutral side of things, I would say. It definitely has a bit of some purplish vibe to it as well. But what I was so in love with about this palette, and I did mention it in my haul, is that this is a nude palette, but it's like a deep, sultry, rich kind of a nude palette, as opposed to a lot of those standard nude palettes where you get your beiges and your different shades of brown. This one has definitely thrown in a lot of those transition shades. You have shades like Filthy up in the corner. This shade down here, Hypnotic, absolutely beautiful. There's a couple shades in here that I'm curious to see when swatched how different they really are, because in the pan, they do have slight differences in the way that they're carrying. But a lot of time when you get shadows that are so close to each other on the eye, they look virtually identical. So now that I have talked a ton about the palette in this pan, I haven't swatched it as of yet. I have no idea what these colors are going to look like. So we are going to swatch all 18 shades. And then when we are done with that, we are going to play around with the palette. Alrighty, so we are all set to go ahead and swatch. I will be swatching every color, probably just down my arm because that seems like the easiest place to do it. I'm always a little sad when I swatch like these beautiful marbled shades because I know they're gonna lose their initial effect, but let's just get straight into swatching. First color is Filthy. It is a matte, sort of pinkish, kind of dusky sort of color. Almost has the same vibe as the, oh, I wish I could remember the name, like vintage taupe color or something like that in the Natasha Denona palette. A little bit more pink than that one. That one is a little bit more mauve, but still a really pretty color, and it appears to have some pretty good pigmentation. I'm also sort of keeping an eye on fallout while we're doing swatching, so I will let you know, but that is the first color. So far, so good. Next color is Passion. This is our first marbled shadow. This is the first marbled shadow from Huda Beauty that I will have ever tried. So first thing I'm noticing, dipping my finger, and I did obviously swirl some of the marble, but it is a really, really pretty color. It kind of has this almost multi-chromed effect. It sort of picks up a little bit of blue, a little bit of purple. Every once in a while you get a bit of like a burgundy sort of color. Absolutely stunning. Feels really, really soft, really creamy. And once again, very, very pigmented. Absolutely beautiful color. So it turns out that this is considered one of the multi-reflective shimmer cream marbles. There's also one matte marble in here. And this next color is a high shine buttery metallic. It is in the shade Shameless. It is probably, upon looking at the palette, my favorite color. It is this super, super gorgeous, glittery kind of pinkish, champagne, rose gold sort of tone. Absolutely gorgeous, certainly very buttery. Really, really nice pigmentation, goes on super smooth. This is one of those colors, it does have some fallout, but that I would probably be more likely to use and apply with my finger than with a brush. Just in experience, that's how they go. This is another one of those same metallics. This is in the shade Please Me. It's just right here. This one also kind of almost has a reflective quality. It's a little bit pink. In some lights can kind of pick up a little bit of orange, definitely a little bit of gold as well. And it kind of makes a color like that work on a lot of different eye looks. If you're going for a more pink eye look, it would probably pull more pink. Whereas if you're using some more of the browns and more orange tone colors, it would probably pick up some of that orange. Next color is a matte, probably going to be the most used matte in the palette. This is in the shade Hypnotic. It is just a beautiful, beautiful light brown kind of color. Very, very warm tone brown in my opinion. I feel like it's pulling a lot of orange under there. Again, absolutely stunning shade, super pigmented. I love that the mattes are very, very pigmented. They feel like they would blend really well, but obviously we have to wait till we get on the eyes to see that. So this is the one-of-a-kind like marbled matte shadow. This is in the shade Hard, and you can kind of tell when you look at it that there's no shimmer in this, whereas the other three marbles all kind of have a shimmery effect. So the shade Hard, once again, it does completely blur out, and you really only get this super dark chocolatey brown, which is an absolutely gorgeous brown, but it kind of begs the question of, was there a point in putting in a marble in a matte shadow? Because ultimately, you know, you're either going to mix them and get a combined shade of the two, or you're really just going to see that dark shade. It's just going to take over. Now that we're into the second row, I feel like I'm talking so much more than normal when I swatch. I haven't filmed for you guys in a while, and I was like super defeated in the last few videos that I filmed, and I actually like was really looking forward to filming for you guys tonight. I've got a stack of boxes over there that I am planning on showing you guys and filming videos for, so I'm so excited to finally like be happy to be sitting down in front of a camera again. Sorry if I'm talking too much. I know some people don't like it. This next matte shadow is in Untamed. This is one of the two colors that I feel like could be very, very similar. We haven't quite gotten to the other one yet. This one's kind of almost like a raspberry, plummy kind of reddish burgundy sort of a tone, but is really pretty. Definitely some fallout happening here. I can see it just picking up in other places on my arm, and this is probably the darkest color we found yet, and it is staining a little bit. Something to keep in mind when putting it on your eyes. You definitely want to lay down an eyeshadow primer or a base before that just to help mitigate some of the staining, but ultimately it still might stain your eyelids. Next color, we've got another metallic. This is Irresistible. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, I love these kind of colors. This is what like the rose gold hype is really all about, is colors like this. Just so gorgeous, so creamy, so pigmented. I'm sorry if I'm too far away. I will bring it a little closer. Absolutely beautiful color. Next color is Flower Power. We are getting into another marbled matte. Once again, it does blur the marbled effect, but whatever. I never understood, like, I'm so bad for this. Like, I have bought makeup products. I have one highlighter in particular. It was from the MAC Bowl Me Over set, and I have never used it because I'm afraid of messing up the image. But what is the point of having makeup if not to play with it on your face? I don't know if I just didn't pick as much up of that color on my finger, so I am going to just pick up a little bit more just to continue that swatch. But even in the swatch form, and again, it could be because I have some of that red still on my hand. It could be because some of my makeup remover wipe is still on my hand, but this is the first color that I've been very underwhelmed by. It is really, really pretty, but everything else is pulling that gorgeous kind of purple color, and this is pulling very, very, like, I feel like, I don't know. I don't know what it's doing for the palette. I will make a decision later. We're halfway through. Next color is Rough. I'm going to speed this up a little bit and maybe pick a, well, no, screw it. This will just be a longer video. Another neutral sort of brown tone, a little bit deeper than that first one. And that is that right there. Again, absolutely beautiful color. And I find different enough from the one previous. The one before kind of pulled more peachy. This one is definitely more of like a coffee kind of brown, but like a coffee with milk in it kind of brown, if you know what I mean. This next color, Spicy, is the one that I am a little worried might be too similar to Untamed. This is what this one looks like. This one is maybe a little bit deeper of a shade of like burgundy almost, but it's pretty close to that other one. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think they're pretty darn close that like if you used them both, they would blend together so much that I don't really know that there is a need for both of them in the palette. They might have been able to put something else in here instead. Who really knows? This next color is a Rouse. This one kind of has a burnt orange sort of a feel to it. At least to me, it's pulling very, very orangey in the palette. It's another matte, if I didn't just say. I'm running out of room on my arm. Gonna have to probably swatch further up here, but that is that color right there. Definitely pulling super orange on my arm. These last, I'll even say 4, even though the fourth color in isn't showing up, would look really pretty in a look together. I don't know where I'm going today with a look. I kept the face very, very neutral, very easy, so we could sort of do whatever we want. Now we're going to get into that special slippery color. So this is considered a sheer pearly gloss hybrid. Also, what I really like is it does tell you the best way to use these shadows. So it says, build your base with the matte cream marble and matte powder shadows. Pick up metallics and cream shimmer marbles using a brush in small circular motions and apply on lids for an illuminating finish. Build an extra layer using your fingers or a sponge brush for a high shine foil effect. For a soft pearlescent glow, apply the Pearl Gloss Hybrid to bare lids using your finger or a flat brush. So my guess is that hybrid shadow, that jelly looking one, is meant to be a standalone shadow. If you are in a rush, running out the house, just want a little something something on your eye, that is probably the thing to put on. I personally am not a fan of eye gloss. It weirds me out. I don't like the way it dries down. It feels very heavy on my lids. Feels like they're sticky and stuck together. I'm not a big fan, but it is a thing for a reason. So obviously other people are. So here we go. We're going to swatch this and let's see what happens to the shadow in the pan. I'm going to bring this one really close so you guys can see. I'm going to pick up a bit more and I'll tell you why. This is what this looks like. And again, it could be staining on my finger. This on the camera picks up a little more pink. Again, it could be the staining. To me, reminds me of if I stuck my finger in rusty water. I hate to say that. I'm actually going to put this shadow on my hand just to keep it away from the rest of them. I mean, is it there? Yes. Is it underwhelming? Yes. Is it pointless? I guess it depends on what you're looking for. For me, yes. Next color up is Tantric. It is another metallic. It's another beautiful gold metallic. Again, this seems quite similar to the color Flower Power, but I need to see. It is pulling slightly more copper vibes than this one, which was more of a just pure champagne, kind of a gold. Next color is Naughty, and this is another dark kind of rusty brown color, if I may say. It kind of has that red tinge sort of a brown to it. Put that one right there. As I swatch down my arm, they always kind of like tilt. It's so weird. They always start so good. I just need to learn to start higher up. We've only got 3 more shadows to go. So next one is Provocative. This is the last creamy marbled thing. And in the pan, it looks quite dark. It is right here, so it does look quite dark purple in the pan, but the color underneath it is kind of like a pinkish orange, and it gives it this really beautiful effect. I do really like these marbled colors. I really want to use one on my eye. This one in particular, I feel like I didn't blend the colors together as much as I did with some of the other ones. So in some lights, and on some edges of the swatch, it is pulling more that deep purple color. And on other edges of the swatch, it looks a little bit more like that orange that's marbled through it. Last metallic is Desire. Oh my goodness. I love colors like this. I never wear colors like this, but I love them. I'm going to just swatch up here just because I'm running out of space. Oh, keep it going. I almost, oh my gosh, okay, so this is super flaky. I'm going to show you guys how chunky this is. Hopefully you can see that. But I bet you if I continued going the other way with this, I can make a bracelet for myself. So with these metallics, it looks like a little will go a really long way because that's a lot. It's a lot of eyeshadow. It's more eyeshadow than you would ever need. Let's just remember, less is more. You can always add product. It's very difficult to take product away. And the last color in the palette is Juicy. It is another matte, another really nice staple brown kind of color. I love it when palettes throw a couple different of the different shades of these sort of colors in palettes because they sort of give you that really nice jumping off point that I think is so important that you can miss a lot of the time if you just get an all bright palette or an all colorful palette. You don't really know where to start. So these, including, let's ignore this. These are the 17 shadows. No, okay, these are the 18 shadows that come in the new Huda Beauty Naughty Nude palette. Let's get trying it on our eyes and see how we feel about it. All right, so it is time to get into an eye look. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I don't know where I want this look to go. I think I'm just sort of gonna start playing in the palette and just see where it takes me. I don't plan on using that gel shadow. I just don't think it's going to be beneficial for me to use it amongst the other shadows, but we'll see. I also kind of want to use use the colors, those 2 dark colors, like Untamed and Spicy, but in the sense that whatever I use one for on the other eye, I want to use the other one, like on one eye, I want to use the other on the other eye in the same way, just to see if they are similar enough that they could have like skipped out on one. I just am curious. So the first thing I'm going to do is take that color Hypnotic on a big fluffy brush. It did not take a lot of taps to get any pigmentation. Also, I do have my eyes primed. Of course, I have my MAC Painterly paint pot on my eyes, so I've got a little bit of that color, and I'm just going to start really laying that in the crease, and I'm going to kind of bring it up higher. I know a lot of you guys tell me that you like it when I carry my eyeshadow higher. I don't do it very often, but there's so many beautiful shadows in this that I really want some definition between the colors, and it's easier to do if I play to a bigger shadow look. Also, please forgive my foundation. It has sort of started separating in here if you have noticed. I don't know that you have, but if you have, I apologize. So I'm just laying down a bit of that. It's funny because it picked up really, really well on the brush. It is pigmented. You can definitely see it. It's not the color I thought it was going to be. I think I thought it would pull a little bit more brown, and on my eyes themselves, I'm finding it to be kind of pinkish, a little orangish. And while I didn't use a clean brush, I will say that the brush did not have any color or pigmentation that would have affected the shade going on my eyes. So that is kind of interesting. It'll probably just take some playing around with to see like what colors actually pull what way on the eyes. I'm just going to take a bit of that Filthy color, and on kind of a straighter sort of brush, I want to bring that underneath my eye. That is super beautiful. Really, I'm going to get a little closer for you guys so you can actually see. Really pretty kind of pinkish purple color. I will be the first to admit I'm not a big fan of putting super like red tone pinks on my eyes. I always find that it makes my eyes look bloodshot, and it makes me look like I've come back from the dead. I only ever use it on like Halloween when I'm trying to be like a devil or a fallen angel. I think I did a tutorial on many, many, many years ago. That's really the only time that I like to use reds. I know that this eye is looking pretty shoddy right now. I apologize. I might just fix it. So I fixed that up a little bit just to make it a little more rounded. I found that I came out in a weird angle. Let's just start building up some colors and sort of see how we go. I definitely want to use the Marbled Matte shade in Hard. Like I said, I also kind of want to use Spicy on one eye and Untamed on the other eye. And I do want to get into some of those shimmers. I just don't know how well they're going to lay in the crease. So let's just keep building with a couple more mattes. First, let's take the color, let's do Rough. It is that second darkest brown kind of color. And I'm going to take that and I'm really going to kind of push that more in the socket and really start to darken my crease. Still going all the way across and just trying to keep it a little bit below that Hypnotic color just so that there is a bit of a variation between the two. So far, I will say the mattes are very, very pigmented. I literally am doing one touch. This is not a super stiff brush. It doesn't pick up a ton of shadow. Just takes one small tap and it is blending really, really nicely. I really am impressed by that. I'm not surprised by that though, to be honest, because I won't say all of Huda Beauty's palettes because they, like, as a brand, they have had some flops in palettes. A lot of times in like the little 9x palettes, like the neon ones, I know weren't as good as some of the other ones had been before that, like the jewel toned ones. But most of her mattes are really, really pigmented, blend really nicely, really, really nice to work with. Now that we've got some of that, let's dip into the color Hard. So I'm going to swirl a bit of that together, try and get some of that like almost chocolatey brown. And again, more into the crease. And I'm lucky that this brush kind of dried sort of flat edge, and I'm really more focusing a bit on the outer kind of 2/3, and then once I start getting some of that built, I am going to drag it a little bit in and kind of just have it blend out really nicely, fade out really nicely. The concern that I have with using these, and I will be tested right here, is depending on how you marble them. And I just mean like if you marble more towards the light color or more towards the dark color, I'm wondering if it would change the way that the color sort of appeared on your eye as well. Meaning that if you didn't pick up the exact same combination of a marble shadow on both eyes, would you get different colors on your eyes? I would say as a this colors, probably not. But even in those like pastel palettes she put out where this formula initially debuted, in the mint one, it was a very light mint with a very dark kind of teal color. I don't know if maybe you really need to swirl the whole thing together, or can you just, do you know what I mean? If anybody knows what I'm talking about or has had experience with this, or can tell me one way or the other if that is even possible, let me know down below. I would love to know. All right, so now I'm gonna we're gonna do the color Untamed on this eye. So that's the first of those two dark colors, and I'm just taking that and really kind of dragging it along the lash line and then mixing it into that chocolatey brown. And we are going to be putting a full shimmer over the full eyelid afterwards. So if the lines look a little funny, I'm okay with that. And I'm going to take a little bit underneath as well, again keeping nice and close to the lash line, not taking that all the way in. I don't want to cover all of that filthy color we laid originally. Just kind of like that, kind of a smoky, sultry, gosh, I have the same problem on that eye look. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye, except instead of, if I can find a brush, any brush will do. That's not true. Instead of using the color Untamed, we're gonna, oh, I should not have done that. There was like a hair on the palette, so I decided to blow at it, and some of the metallic that I had knocked up from the swatches just went everywhere. So we're gonna go in with Spicy and just see if we can get the same or similar effect on the other eye. So first thing I will say, Spicy, definitely more pigmented, not a problem. I can add a little bit more Untamed to the other eye. They're pretty darn close to the same, aren't they? Maybe the slightest bit different. One might be pulling slightly more reddish, the other a little more pink or purple. But I feel like if I put the same amount of Untamed on, and maybe that's my issue here, I'll just kind of add some more. I feel like if I went out and you didn't know any better, you probably couldn't tell. I mean, there is some slight differences knowing that, but once you have an eyeliner on and a shimmer on and a mascara on, I don't know that there's enough of a difference to warrant having both those shadows in this palette. I think I would have preferred something a little different. I'm not too sure what would have made this palette better in that sense, like what kind of color they could have put in. That's just my opinion. You know, opinions are worth what you pay for them, and you don't pay for mine, so if you want to ignore it, that's totally cool by me. I did just notice, though, I put a lot more of that color under there than I did under here. Are they kind of even now? Pretty much. Okay, so now we're going to get into some shimmer. So I will see how it works on sort of a flatter brush. I know it said to do it in a small circular motion, which just seems weird to me, but we'll give it a shot. So let's do... I want to use a little bit of Provocative. I really want to see how one of the shimmery marbles does. So I'm just going to pick some up. I don't know that this is going to work. This is going to be more for the outer corner. And we're going to lay into I'm going to use my finger. It just is easier for me for shimmers. They just pick up a little bit better. I'm going to kind of put that on the outer part, but I'm trying not to cover any of that deepness that we worked for earlier. Using those darker burgundy kind of colors. I definitely want to keep some of the definition out there, but I'm just looking for a little sparkle, a little something something. Now let's get into one of the metallic shades. Let's use the color Irresistible. That was that absolutely gorgeous kind of rose golden sort of tone, and I'm going to put that more in the inner corner so that it sort of goes from a real sparkle, which we're going to really like pin down with another color in the inner corner, probably Tantric. So it starts with a really, really heavily defined sparkle, and as it kind of goes out, it fades a little more into a matte sort of a tone. So let's put Tantric in the inner corner. You could also do this with the color Shameless, I would think. That would look really pretty. So I've just got a little bit of something just in the corner to give it a pop, and I think we're gonna call that done. I tried everything except that, I don't wanna call it stupid because someone worked really hard on that formula, that gel formula. It's just not for me. I'm going to run off, put on some eyeliner, put on some mascara. we'll come back and we will have a chat about how I think that this all went. All right, guys, so I am back and this is the look we are left with. I will get a little bit closer so you guys can see. All in all, I am really happy the way it looks because it pulls a lot more purplish too. It is really making my eyes look super, super green, especially when I get right up into the camera. Final thoughts, opinions about the palette. The matte's absolutely gorgeous, super pigmented, blend out beautifully, blend really well together. You don't need a lot. There's not a ton of fallout. There looks like there's no fallout on my face, and a lot of that is also because I did apply those shimmers with my fingers instead of a brush. I always think that that helps to mitigate some fallout, even if that's not the way that they were intended to be used. So yeah, the matte's absolutely gorgeous. Metallics, beautiful. The marbled shadows, I think they look really, really pretty in the palette. And I think that when you swirl them together, you do get a really, really beautiful effect. Is it necessarily to have the marble stamped in there? I'm not too sure because once you kind of smudge it all out, it makes it look a lot less appealing. If that's sort of one of those things that you're looking for in a palette, that it does look pleasing to the eye. I've said it a couple times, I don't see the point of that gel shadow. I think I feel like everybody else about that they could have done without it. I also feel that way about those two darker shadows. I believe they were Filthy. Nope, sorry, I'm wrong. Untamed and Spicy. They were so similar, and now that they're on my eyes and I've completely done them with mascara and everything, and you're like not really examining them, I don't see a difference. I don't think there is much of one, and certainly, you know, going out and wearing this palette out and about, nobody would say anything. So, final thoughts on this palette. It is an expensive palette. It is $88, and as much as it is absolutely gorgeous, the colors are beautiful, they work really well together, I don't know that it's that original of a color story. I feel like there's a lot of other palettes that contain either versions of these shadows, whether or not it's all of the shadows. You know, I definitely don't know that there's any shadow color in here that is perfectly, completely unique to anything else that I have in my makeup drawers behind me. It is a more purple tone palette, so I think like anything else, makeup is very unique and very person to person, and somebody else this might be their holy grail favorite palette they've ever had, palette that they use every single day. I like it. I will definitely continue to use it. I think it got really, really pretty results. And as much as everybody keeps saying like, oh, it's just another kind of, I do think like if the scale of vibrant to neutral is here, I do think it does fall a little bit more on the neutral side. There's definitely some more color in there. I wouldn't call this a completely neutral palette, but it does pull more that way. And I mean, it is called Naughty Nude. So I do think that the whole point is for it to be a more sultry, smoky kind of a nude palette, but without giving you those like blacks and grays that a lot of other palettes have. And I do appreciate that. So I think if you're kind of a color story, if this palette really speaks to you, it is a lot of money, but again, we are around the holiday season. Ask for it for Christmas. If you get a gift card to Sephora, use that to maybe pick this up. Wait for a sale like I did and pick it up. I don't want to outright say like, yes, go out and run out and get this palette, but what I will say is if you do decide to go and pick this palette up, it is not disappointing. I think that one shade is a letdown. I feel like I am with the majority of people that feel that way, but take that shade out and maybe take out one of these dark shades. The rest of the palette is absolutely gorgeous, and I am really excited to continue playing with this. So I hope that this video was informative, that it helped anybody that was curious about this palette, that I actually really like the eye look I ended up getting. I know I didn't know where I was going, and sometimes that ends in disaster, but I think we ended up okay today. If you picked up this palette, let me know your feelings about it. How do you feel? Do you agree with some of the things I'm saying? Do you disagree with what I'm saying? Let me know down in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.